So what's happening, guys? Pretty decent Corvette up there. I don't know what year it is. 06 or greater, I think. Or is it 05? I can't remember when they changed to the C6. What? Man. So I wanted to talk about some things that I have planned here coming up soon. I have been looking into LED headlamps since 2 years ago. I ended up putting in the LED H11s, which work great, and then I put in LED turn signals, and they work great, but I've held off on the LED headlamps, low beams and high beams, because I haven't been really sure on performance. It's very difficult for you to find an LED, and I'm not going HID. I don't care what anybody says. I had this argument with a couple of people on a video that I made, I think it was about a year ago. They said, oh, you need to go HID. Well, I'm going LED. Sorry. That's just what I'm doing. It's my car. It's my money. I'm going to do it. So, I'm going to go with the same company that made the H11s that I've got, because they're really, really nice. And they don't require a ballast, a separate box, or anything else like that to function. They work just fine standalone. Man, gotta follow you. But, so, the trick is, and I'll go more into this when, wow, what is a turn signal to you? You're a fucking asshole is what you are. Anyway, what makes a good LED? What makes a good spread? It's not how bright it is. Most people think that the brighter it is, the better it is. Well, unfortunately, the brightness doesn't really mean shit. It just doesn't. You need to have a good spread. And a lot of problems that people have when they go with like aftermarket headlamps and aftermarket lights is they go with the brightest that they can possibly have, and they think, oh great, well I'm going to be able to see everything now, or much more. That is simply not the case. You need to have an LED headlamp, an LED assembly that will have a good spread. It has to have a real good spread. And the H11s that I have a good spread, but the spread is from it's like a down up. It's not a forward shooting spread. And what you need to make sure is that the cone that the LED shoots out the light is wide enough to be able to reflect in your headlamp assembly. And the H11s, they use a lens, a round lens. It's in a very small spot, so that cone that's shooting up and down is reflecting a whole bunch of times on the inside of the lens, and that light is then transferred forward. Well, what I see a lot of on places like eBay and Amazon is they'll sell a 9006, which is a low beam. It's a pretty typical low beam headlamp. They'll sell a 9006, but it'll have one LED on the bottom. So all the light is literally shooting down out of the assembly. And when you've got, even with a headlamp assembly, when you have all the light shooting in one direction, no matter how bright it is, some of that is going to be deflected elsewhere. You'll notice that when you buy a regular incandescent headlamp, there is no one direction. It goes in all directions, okay? That's what a headlamp, a headlight, an incandescent bulb does for like a 9006. So I see a lot of these 9006 assemblies that have one LED. Yeah, it's bright, 2,000, 2,500 lumens. It's bright. The problem is it's shooting all the light down in one direction. And if you do get something that's super bright, like a 5,000 lumen LED, of course it's going to be bright enough where it's probably going to light up the whole assembly, just because all that light is being reflected around. But ideally, if you want a very good spread, a nice even spread throughout the assembly, you want to have a bulb or an LED that actually spreads the light out evenly in all directions rather than just in one direction. So those, unfortunately, are more expensive because they use multiple LEDs and they usually get hotter. But I see some of these cheap Chinese-made LED 9006s, and they have just one bulb, or one LED that is, on the bottom, so all the light's going down. And then they show you this picture on a black matting or something like that shows, oh yeah, they're really, really bright. Well, of course they're bright in the direction that the LED is shooting, but they're not very good at projecting that light in all different directions, which is what you want. Now, low beams have, most low beam assemblies, this is an incandescent, not an HID. Most low beam incandescents, if you look in your headlamp assembly, if you have incandescent standard, not HIDs, you'll see that there's like a cover on your low beam assembly. That's so that the light, when you're traveling down the road and you got your low beams on, that's so that the light from the incandescent 9006 or low beam, whatever you have, doesn't shoot out directly into the eyes of the person who's coming in that opposite direction. You'll notice that on your high beams, like in my case a 9005, there is no cover, because you want that light to shoot out as far as you can. Not only is it brighter, but it also projects further out. But again, the problem is that if you've got one LED that's shooting light in one direction, and you have that for a high beam, well, guess what's going to happen? It'll light up the assembly just fine, but it's not going to shoot that light out where it's supposed to go. It's going to be really bright at the bottom of the assembly, and then you're not going to have much light. It's not going to be an even spread. So what you'll see really bright light in front of you, which is nice, but then as you travel out to the road, it's going to get dimmer and dimmer. And it defeats the purpose of having a much brighter bulb, because you're not seeing further out like you should. So that's the key. I've actually been asked about this a lot when I've been talking about LED headlamps and so on. Am I going HID, whatever? HIDs are bright and they're nice, but I prefer LEDs because they have no startup time. They don't need to be warmed up. And HIDs have to use modified housings in most cases, plus separate ballasts. And I would prefer to have LED. So anyway, I mean, that's just me again. So I'm looking at a pair of LEDs. They're about $100. They're for the 9006 low beams. They're 2600 lumens, and that's that's about 1,000 lumens brighter than the headlamps that I have now. So I'll have to see how that works. But anyway, just thought I would go over that. Just been kind of wanting to talk about that. But yeah, so anyway, I'll catch you guys later. Take care.